This is part two after lunch and a bunch of other errands. So um, I'm recording it obviously a day early. Uh, so I probably have five different parts to this. This particular part is going to just address some housekeeping changes I'm intending to make, and then I'm going to talk about the reading with Brother Bernard's um, book on his chapter on textual transmission, excuse me, textual criticism, chapter 7 in his God's Infallible Word. Again, that chapter can be found in your GIF folder that you've been getting those chapters out of, or um, a number of you already have the book, and you can certainly read it in your textbook. In the Hermeneutics of the Word in the World, we have two kinds of things that we're doing simultaneously, and sometimes it goes more than um, one direction in one class more than another. So the two directions we're going simultaneously are learning some skills in terms of how to do biblical research and be apt to teach and preach, and then also prepare for other classes. And then the other set of learning that we're doing is kind of historical slash philosophical, talking about a Western worldview and the air in which you breathe. So today we're going to do parts on both of those things. Um, I'll have one or two parts on Brother Bernard's chapter on textual criticism, and then I'll have one or two parts on issues related to enlightenment way of telling stories and how we respond to that, or in some cases don't respond. But first, in this shorter section, I want to talk to you about a little bit of a change I'm making. I had an email, Tyler, and rightly so, working long hours and saying, you know what, with the additional research that that I required last time of looking things up on commentaries, took several hours to do the assignments, and that this can actually, the other classes and other things could be too much. And I do want to be sensitive to that. I realize not everyone has to work all those hours, but some do, and again, they're in this class. And I realize also this is a freshman class, so that I need to assign things that are on a freshman level in terms of both difficulty and length of time. So I'm going to cut it down from 7 questions to 5 questions and see how that works. Uh, and then further, I decided as well, the reason I did the had you go online with the commentaries is because, frankly, at this point in the semester, I'm spending maybe every other week or maybe even more a class giving you a sort of a group work assignment where you look up stuff and do commentary works. And the reason that that's good is because when you do the commentary works as a group, when you come in, you'll say, well, we didn't find anything, or this was a good source. So it's one thing for me to tell you, here's a good source. It's another thing for you to discover that. And also, because there's a need to know, when I highlight sources and say, hey, this is a great source for the kind of work that you need to do, then that sort of resonates in a deeper way. Now, having said that, when I do group work in the library, that shortens the class hour and spends more time in that. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to on the days that I have you do commentary work, I'll have a shorter lecture. So I think that'll be a decent trade-off. And I realize that 5 questions can be a couple of pages of answers, so I get that. And I can appreciate the level of work that's required there. But now let's think about this. In a college setting, typically, you're supposed to allow 2 hours of outside work for for every in-class hour. Um, so if you have, you say, well, I worked 3 hours on that. Well, okay, well, wait a minute. Maybe 1 hour of that, or 1 hour and some change of that, was watching the lecture. That's not really outside work. And if you were just doing the quiz, say, I would expect you to have spent 20, 30 minutes at least reading the chapter. Now, I realize um, that it requires more to do a reflection paper, but I also would remind you that I dispensed with the last paper. And so while on a given week you don't um, do that much work, at least you hadn't before um, we went to online lecture, you would have had peaks of time where I estimate, and it varies for different individuals, if someone has never done a research paper and they're learning these new skills, it probably takes them 10 hours. Now, some have done more or can finish it in less than 10 hours, and some struggled, and even in 10 hours, they couldn't get anything launched. So there's no magical wand there. So that's not an assignment for the semester. So again, I'm trying to give you the skill set that you would learn if I were in class and on campus. And part of that is a writing piece and putting thoughts together. So I don't know. I'm going to try this, and we'll see how we do. And again, nobody was making demands, or I didn't think anyone had a bad attitude. I didn't detect that at all. And I appreciate the individual needs and individual concerns that people have. Now, I noticed, if you notice, Brother Bernard was going to be quote unquote a guest lecturer. I am trying to get a couple of Bernard lectures to go along with what I'm doing, because I want you to have his voice in your life this semester. And I wasn't able to get them uploaded at this time. So I will include those lectures as I can have access to them, and as they become available. So I'll keep you updated. So you get no Bernard lecture today, you just get me. So that's part of the housekeeping issue. Again, when we come back, I'm going to be talking about the chapter reading. If you've read the chapter already, that probably would be helpful in understanding the lecture. So you may, don't have to, but you may want to stop and read the chapter, and then after having read it, continue on with the next part 3.